Hello, everybody, and welcome to another quarantine episode of MTG Study Hall. I am one of your hosts, Brett, and I am joined, as always, by JC, Lily, and Dave. We have a lot of things to cover this episode. Before we launch into that, we have a little bit of bookkeeping to take care of. James, you want to cover that for us?
Sure thing. Make sure to check us out on Facebook, YouTube, and Patreon, all under TCG University, guys. We're on twitch.tv/TCG University as well. You get to watch Brett play games live. We have other content like White Schwartz, Final Fantasy, and Universes on there as well. Mostly through like a lot of days of the week. You can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Spotify. If we're not on podcasting service that you want us to be on, just let us know. We'll get us out there. Shout outs to our Patreon sponsors: Addie, Andrew Dang, Anthony Albano, Bryce Rasek, Chris Miner, Clay Cardwell, Jay Rogers, Drett Hubbard, John Stone, Justin Farce, Kat Maria, Kevin Broberg, Kieran Vision, Lucinda Letica, Okamiao, Paul Casagrande, Peyton Kiker, Samantha Stevens, the baddest bitch around, Sean O'Brien, Theodore Ruiz, and Tyler Zane Pease. And then we have Cards Custom Build, Ink Gaming, and Dex Protection as some sponsors, along with Nuclear Ink, Custom Tattoo and Skate Shop. I forget that because it's not my other podcast, but we have those guys as well. So make sure to check all them out. There'll be an ad for that later.
All right, thank you so much, James. Really appreciate it. Before we launch into what we've been doing in Magic, I do want to say Dave also streams on the channel more than I do. So
when work allows, I mean, I'll be on it tonight. Like I'm doing it in the middle of the night. So if you have insomnia, can't sleep, then listen to me pontificate about movies and Instant Pots and cooking.
Well, for that reason, miss sleep these days. Dave, you're doing God's work.
And let's just roll on into it. What have we been doing in Magic? Dave, what have you been doing in Magic this past 2 weeks? It's because we were off last week.
I've still been playing Lurrus because Lurrus feels hella playable still. However, I think the meta's finally started correcting. Where we last left our hero, he had built Black Blue Flash. So we're probably gonna give that a whirl a little bit later tonight. I got to get some groceries and all that, but we'll be back at it tonight at some point, probably close to midnight.
Okay. Lily, what have you been doing in Magic this past 2 weeks?
I finally built Corvold, one of the two real life Brawl decks that I have on Arena, and have been playing that, and it is very fun and very complicated.
Yeah, the deck has a lot going on and draws a lot of cards, which seems to be good in my experience so far as a Magicman. Anything else?
Oh,
Magic,
God.
I love that.
Well, somebody hasn't given me mechanics feedback on my custom set yet.
I know. It's me. It's me. If anyone in the audience was wondering, it's me because I suck. I'm a pile of crap. I give you feedback when you message me and card, and I do that feedback.
Okay, but you got to look at the fucking whole set.
I know there's like 260 cards.
Yeah, there are.
I gotta get this.
Okay, you read Ray's book.
I did. I did. I did read Ray's book. Ray did hand me a big paper copy though, so that was a little harder. I mean, that would probably be a bad idea mid-pandemic. I will keep bugging me about it because I'm a sack of crap. JC, what have you been doing this past couple weeks, Magic-wise?
Well, trying to prepare to give Lily some feedback on the set. Other than that, actually not a whole hell of a lot. I've been keeping up with the news and stuff, but my attention's largely been occupied elsewhere.
Fair enough. There's been a lot going on. As for me, as I mentioned a little bit in the pre-show, my final roommate who didn't play Magic, we have taught him Commander, and so now I have 4 people in my house, counting me, who play Commander. So I've been playing a shocking amount of Commander and getting to watch a player go through the green is awesome. It sucks when you guys keep board wiping me. I need to draw more cards. That color looks good. So it's been fun watching me in high school again. So
going through the green creature phase.
Yes, which nothing opposed to that. I love me. I still love green creatures, but Galt is really. That's true. But Cat had the other version of that, which is Angels are really cool.
I was gonna say green is still cool. You just need to have Cat elucidate the benefits of white cards and Angels specifically to Dan.
I mean, I keep trying to tempt him into like, you could go into green black. Graveyard stuff's a thing. Jared does dumb things. So anyway, that has been a lot of fun. I've been playing Arena. Historic is actually a really cool format. Sorry, Kat just gave me some looks. Historic is awesome. I rounded up to platinum playing Chandra Tribal with Zirda as my companion, even post companion change, which has been a lot of fun. Anytime I can win with like 3 Chandras on board is the biggest possible win imaginable. So playing some Historic, doing Brawling with Brett, and getting very excited for the core set. So we're going to launch into that. We're going to talk about some big Commander rules changes this episode. We're going to talk about the new Core Set 2021 cards. I wanted to take a quick moment to let everybody know that our last topic we're going to cover during this show is going to be about the new content bans that were just recently announced. Wizards has banned 7 cards due to racist imagery and wording. So we are going to cover that. That's going to be a little bit of a shift in tone when we hit that last one. So I just want to let everybody know we are going to cover that. Before we get into that, we have some just kind of more general Magic newsy things. So I just wanted to give everyone a heads up. So we're going to launch into the Commander change. And as oftentimes happens in the pre-show, which is just the Discord group chat before we start recording, one of us will say something and somebody else will go, wait, that happened? And then we get yelled at by our producers to not talk about it or explain it until we're on the show. So, Lily,
to be fair, I think about 80% of the time it's me just not paying attention to the world around me. So I'll take the blame for that.
Okay, I didn't want to throw you under any buses. So, okay, Lily, do you want to tell Dave and everyone else what is changing in Commander? Do you have audio right now?
I think you're talking about it.
My bad. Sorry.
Okay.
So, there are 2 changes that are being made, right? So, first thing, there is, well, actually, you can't really talk about them separately. So, previously, there was a replacement ability, replacement effect, that was part of the Commander rule set that if your commander went to the graveyard, library, exile, or to your hand, you could instead choose to put them in the command zone instead. Now, what they did is they split that up into 2 different things. They wanted to create a situation where commanders with when so-and-so dies trigger, put into the graveyard from the battlefield, still actually trigger, still actually happen. And because of that, if you did the replacement ability or replacement effect, where the commander goes to the command zone instead, it would not trigger, like Child of Alara or
Land of the Dusk Rose.
Land of the Dusk Rose. There's, I think,
the 5 Kamigawa dragons.
Right, and then there's the Rolesque Apex Hybrid from War of the Spark, right? So
Yes.
They all had dice triggers, and those wouldn't trigger because unless you let it go to the graveyard. But the problem was once it's in the graveyard, well, you've got to find some way to exile it from there or move it to another zone to get it back into the command zone to recast it. So what they did is they split it into 2 rules. They split it into if it would go into your hand or library, which are both hidden zones, you can still put it back in the command zone. And then those are the only ones that are still under the replacement effect. The new thing is a state-based action, which says, if it is in your graveyard or exile, and it hasn't been there since the last time state-based actions were checked, you may put it into the command zone. State-based actions are checked immediately before any player would receive priority, which means after any spell or ability resolves before anyone gets a chance to do anything. Every time.
So that might... Oh, go ahead.
So in layman's terms, that means it hits the graveyard and then doesn't stay there.
Right, it hits the graveyard and then goes back to the command zone before anyone has a chance to do anything with it. But it does go to the graveyard, which is important for the commanders that care about dying, and a slew of other cards, and it's changed a few things functionality. A couple of unintuitive other things were sort of caught in the crossfire here and are now pretty intuitive.
So yeah, and just so I'm making sure I have the info right. So when it goes to the graveyard of the exile, it will hit those zones, and then you can choose to move it to the command zone, or you can choose to keep it in the graveyard of the exile zone.
Right.
So it's really. Oh, go ahead.
once you choose to keep it there, you don't get to re-choose every time something happens.
For that instance. So if you yes, for you choose, okay, it's hitting the yard, I'm gonna keep it there. Then later on, if it were to go to another zone, you could
but like once you put it in the graveyard, it's in the graveyard until it will go somewhere else.
Yeah, until you do something with it.
And that's important.
So this is I talked about this a little bit on my stream last night. But I'm a super huge fan of this because there's not a ton of commanders that are affected by this, but there's a non-zero amount as we pointed out.
10 or 12 in total.
Yeah, there's certainly a reasonable number. There's also other effects, skull clamp, other things, both positive and negative.
Whenever so and so dies, triggers from everything.
And another very important thing it does is Wizards. And Morrow straight up come out and said, it has been commanders affected how they print legendary creatures because they never wanted to give a legendary creature a dice trigger because then the commander players would complain. And it's one of the most, if not their most important and popular formats. So it's one of those things where it was really limiting design space. So now they can do whatever they want and the commander rules function quite nicely. And it was the rules committee decided to make the change. I'm going to get into that in a second, but they reached out to Wizards to get good wording, and we got to use that interesting technology about the state-based actions checking since the last state-based action.
Yeah, they added a state-based action. There's like 7 or 8 different state-based actions that happen literally every time. This is one of the reasons Magic's so hard to program into computers, because literally every time anything happens, before anyone gets an opportunity to do anything, there's this big-ass list of things it goes through.
So there's also, in case it seems very complicated, it basically just means your commander's going to go to die, it touches the graveyard, then it goes to the command zone like it used to. So it's really not going to change all that many things. It's not terribly, the rules are a little confusing, but the rules at the when you rip all the stuff off the top are all very confusing. It's once you play with it, I think it's just going to lead to better gameplay. So all in all, this seems like a win. So how are you going to find out a way to complain about this, Brett? You might be asking. Oh, I found one. So, please.
The problem is why they made the change.
Exactly. So, for people who don't know, the rules committee were a small group of people. I think it was 5 people. A small group of people originally.
You mean the CAG, the Commander Advisory Group?
No. So the pre-CAG.
Oh, right. Okay.
Pre-CAG, we just had the rules committee, and it was a small group of judges and people who kind of created the format and were in charge of the ban list and made all the decisions. There was some community pushback, and they're saying, hey, you guys are making all these changes. And also, it was not a terribly diverse group, so they're like, okay, we're going to expand. We're going to get we're going to ask a lot of people from the community to form the CAG, the Commander Advisory Group, and that will impact our decisions. And I support that decision. I like that the CAG was formed. I am pro CAG.
6 members in CAG.
Oh, okay. So, which basically would at least is that how it is now, or have they added more?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. At least when it was created, there's 6 people.
So I like that the CAG was formed. However, in their article describing why they did this, they said an unnamed member of the CAG had built an Elenda the Dust Rose deck and was excitedly telling them about it, and they had to tell the member of the CAG that is not how the command zone worked.
Yeah.
And that is concerning.
We know it's not Charlotte Sable because she's a judge.
So, and my goal here is not to... I don't know who this individual is. If I did, I would not be... This is not a name and shame situation. However, the group that dictates our format should have some understanding of how the format works. I am not a judge. I have a pretty solid handle on the rules, and at the very least, I have enough of a handle to know when I don't know what's going on. But the command zone, while a little bit unintuitive, is not that hard to grok once you've had it explained. The old version, and the new version, I would say. But the idea that someone who is making sweeping decisions for Wizards' biggest format didn't understand one of the basic tenets of the format is concerning to me.
It is worth mentioning here that the CAG they're a step removed from the decision-making process. They are not the rules committee for Commander, like the main group. They're not the
final arbiters, but they literally weigh into every ban and rules decision that happens.
Sure.
So, JC, yes?
If I may speak a word of defense, how many legendary creatures have death conditions? How many times does this actually come up?
So, while there are not many legendary creatures that themselves have
I'm saying it could be an easy mistake.
Hold on. And no, I don't think it is. So while there are not many legendary creatures that have dice triggers themselves. There are hundreds of cards that see play in Commander that care about creatures dying. I don't think I've ever been in a game that does not have one of them.
That's fair.
Probably.
I mean, and like, when you play a game, you're tallying up, okay, how many creatures died? This many creatures died. Oh, okay, my commander didn't die because we moved my commander to the command zone, so Blood Artist didn't trigger on that one. So like, that is, I have said a version of that sentence a lot, and this concerns me, and it's not just that. Part of me, it's even less that the person didn't know, it's that they chose to tell us that. Like, if you have that fuck up, if you have that internal embarrassment, why would you publish it? Don't erode my faith in you because it's already really eroded. Rules committee. Yes. It's like, it's already, I have a lot of respect for the people who made the format. I like what they did for Magic. I do not think the rules committee should be a thing anymore.
Right.
In this article, go ahead.
Like, this is literally the first decision they've ever made that I've been like, 100%, yes. Great, you found a great way to do it. I agree with everything you're doing here, how you chose to implement it, all the repercussions it'll have on the game, the things it changes, 100% on board. Literally the first time in my entire life. But the way we got there absolutely fractures my confidence in any sort of authority this body has.
And in this article, they talk about the importance of we want these cards. I mean, they're doing this functionality change. I don't have the text up here, so I don't want to say they're saying this for sure. But they are making this functionality change to make it easier, to make cards work better, to allow Wizards to design more stuff. But in that same article, they talk about our dedication to the color identity rules and keeping hybrid mana rules as they are stays strong, which is stupid and ridiculous. Wizards designed hybrid mana as a way for multicolored to make monocolored gold cards, to make cards that could function in two different things. And their insistence on keeping hybrid mana out of that, and I'm not just bringing it up out of nowhere. They mentioned this in the article, so it's just so arbitrary. And that's my problem with the rules committee and the CAG, is it's so arbitrary. The ban system is arbitrary. It really feels like anytime anything gets banned, it's like, did you ban this because it's a good idea? Did you ban this because it's good for the format? Or did you ban it because Sheldon or one of you guys got annoyed in a game because somebody cast an Iona on you? Like, and if you want to say Iona's banned, fine, but have some consistency. Like, the bans are inconsistent. The fact that Planeswalkers aren't allowed to be commanders. The fact that the hybrid mana rules are still like this and are being dictated by 12-ish people, maybe 12 to 20 people, who all of whom don't have apparently a great mastery of the format, concerns me. Rant. Hoof. Okay, I know. I'm very riled about this.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, I am right there with you. This was a huge blow to my confidence in this body as serving any sort of real administrative purpose. Like, I'm not going to trust the decisions you're making if you don't understand the game you're making decisions about.
And I've never heard a good argument for like hybrid mana other than, well, it's how we've done it.
Well, like, God, I have a little thing about that. Like so back when the colorless mana came up, they changed there are two rules. So it used to be mana production, which you could only make mana of a color of your commander, and every other color of mana you make would be colorless instead. And then there is the deck construction rule, which is your deck can only include cards which have a color identity that matches your commander's color identity. They made that change because of the introduction of colorless mana costs and the codification of colorless mana on Magic cards, even though it was technically a thing for quite a while. When they made that, they were in a position where, do we want to give any deck that could make mana of any color the option to, like, well, I'm a green deck, I'm going to make a red. That red becomes colorless. I'm going to cast the new Kozilek, which is not intuitive, but it would be true. Or do we choose one of these two very similar rules to keep and one to remove? Now, at the time, they chose to remove the mana production rule, which may have been a good option at the time. I didn't disagree with it in the moment, but that means that you don't have an easy way to fix the hybrid cards, because if you had the mana production rule and not the color identity rule, you could have hybrid cards work as they're intended. You could have a lot of cards work how they work in other formats without having to worry about weird inconsistencies because of deck construction rules, but because they chose the color identity rule to keep instead of the hybrid one. And God knows it's easy enough to create colorless mana to cast those cards in monocolored decks in non-colorless decks anyway. I mean, like, it didn't do anything.
It's the
Tyrant.
The rules committee. Their decisions often seem arbitrary and inconsistent. I know Wizards, I'm not saying they have the best history of making a functional ban lists. I know the list they put out for their MTGO commander ban list was pretty laughable, but Wizards at the very least is willing to adapt their rules changes, communicate while they're doing them, and try to form some consistency. If you want to hear me rant more about this, I did it. You could probably pull the VOD off the Twitch channel of yesterday's Brawling with Brett. I don't need to rant more about it, but this is just, it's one of those, I'm thrilled with the rules change, and as always, I'm annoyed by the rules committee and think that they should no longer be an entity that exists, and that Wizards should just take over their most important, popular, financially lucrative format.
But yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Not that I trust every decision they make about their game either, but like they have a better track record, which is saying something.
Yeah. Anyway, so sorry. I realize me and Lily have very strong opinions on this. That's Dave, JC, any thoughts on this, or we can just move on to core set things that we can all talk about? Sorry, I realized that was a little bit in the weeds, maybe for our non-commander players.
Dave, you first.
Oh no, I have no thoughts on Commander. Honestly, like I'll sum it up to this: competitive Commander is probably the worst form of Magic I've ever played in my life, and I want nothing to do with that part. As far as like people playing Commander for fun, by all means, definitely, because we're supposed to be playing games for fun, right? That's kind of where I'm at. I'm going to trust the judgment of you three on this and agree with you on it. I want nothing to do with competitive Commander. I cannot stress that enough.
I have questions.
Yeah, shoot.
So, where did this story come from?
This kind of came out of the blue. There was a stream on Channel Fireball, and then I don't know which members of the CAGO Rules Committee were doing a Channel Fireball thing, but they're basically, it kind of came out of the blue, just in the middle of the day. They're like,
no, hold on. There's a big online Commander event.
Oh, okay. So there was a thing. Oh, sorry. Do you want to say that one more time? I cut out a little bit.
They were doing a panel, I'm pretty sure.
Like an online panel. This was, I should say, it was not on my radar. So online panel, and then they're like, hey, by the way, we're making this big change finally. We had this internally happen, so here's this. And then the next day, they published the article that I yelled about for a while.
Right. I was curious about it from it's a weird choice, unless it was like we were talking about it on a panel, it was kind of funny at the time, blah, blah, blah. But otherwise, it's kind of just a weird kind of like, let's shit on this person kind of story. And it ruins confidence in the community, and whoever talked about the story had to know that would happen, and that bothers me. Like, because like one, it's like we made this change because like one of our doofy CAG members doesn't know the rules.
I mean, we know it's not Charlotte Sable or Josh LeQuay. That leaves 4 people.
I mean, and again, my goal isn't like, oh, that person's bad and they shouldn't be on the CAG. It should be a small group of insular players, even if it's less insular with the CAG, a small group of players disconnected from WotC that governs literally every other decision about the game and the design of cards should be making these decisions. And JC, I agree. That's a really weird. So it's either you don't appreciate the scale of what you're telling us. You don't appreciate what a monumental fuck up you're admitting to, or you're trying to like side eye or throw shade at somebody for this thing. Like when if you're working hypothetically at your job and you or a coworker makes a big mistake and you realize, oh, this gives us the opportunity to fix a process, you don't go to your higher ups and go, so-and-so fucked up, and then we fix this. You go, we realized we had this issue going on and we came up with a good solution. You don't need to throw someone under the bus.
So I did consider for a moment, like it occurred to me here, because I've done this before, and I know Ray has done this too, where you build a commander deck off of something that doesn't work well with the format, with the express purpose of making it work well, or working the best it can. And I don't remember what I was reading with it. The article I was reading did not mention that there was like a misunderstanding of it or anything like that. All it mentions is that they did that, and then the person explained it. Could have been a situation where the person who made the deck knew that, but then they were like, oh shit, maybe we should address this.
Oh, see, but my understanding on the read, I'd have to pull the text up, and maybe I'll do it in the post show because I don't want to slow things down. But my understanding of the text was that they were excitedly telling them about this deck, and that they had to sadly inform this individual that the deck they had built and had been playing with their play group that they play in regularly, and they had all been doing it wrong. So
yeah, I just want to point out, like, advice to anyone in life: if you're working in a space that demands public trust, try not to shit on your coworkers about the things they fuck up.
Oh God, yeah. Like with my job, there's definitely this idea, like yeah, stuff happens, things fall through the cracks, people screw up, but don't like we're all here together. This is, this is our problem. This is not their problem. And it's like, I get that. That's one of the few like corporate-y things that I actually agree with. There's got to be the organization has to be a monolith kind of.
No, I mean, that's the same thing with the corporate thing. Is like when in my job, I deal in that situation. We say our department missed this. Right. We missed this thing. Let's fix it. And
Carol missed it.
I mean, if I may make a Pathfinder D&D thing here, if someone fails their stealth check, you don't be like, "Ha, they failed their stealth check." You'd be like, "I guess we all roll initiative."
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think that's a good wrap up there. I like it's a fine analogy. It's so okay. Yes, thank you in the chat. Free hybrid mana.
Yeah, hybrid mana. Oh God, I have so many ways that would work. I can think of 6 implementations that would work.
Post show. Okay, we're gonna move on to a topic that
I haven't thought about hybrid mana.
All right, let's cover that in the post show. I think that's some good stuff to talk about.
Post show.
That isn't in the first half already.
That isn't the pre-show, and I just want to tell people who just watch us regular on YouTube, the pre-show totally wasn't 25 minutes of us talking about Star Trek. That isn't what it was. It was definitely normal pre-show things, not 25 minutes of Star Trek. No, nothing about weird space ghosts. Nothing. I'm not saying it, Dave. Okay.
Say it. I'm not saying it. I gave you the term and everything.
No, now they have to pay for the pre-show if they want to know.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the core set. There's a core set coming out. There's Jumpstart coming out. There are a bunch of really cool reprints they are doing. Dave, we picked a topic that you didn't talk about. Talk about the core set.
Solemn. There's a solemn. Jesus, wow. Solemn Simulacrum is getting reprinted, and I'm excited. That's awesome. If we were still in our normal recording space, I could point to the dope picture that I got courtesy of Goblin Games in Lenexa, Kansas. Awesome PTQ, by the way. Anyway, we get a reprint of Solemn Simulacrum. That's going to be awesome. We have Massacre Worm. We have Baneslayer Angel. We have a new White Planeswalker, which looks kind of playable.
Yeah, Boss Riquette looks really cool. We have Grim Tutor reprint, $250 card.
I don't know how much of an impact that's going to have in Standard, but I like
Commander.
Yeah, it's going to be great for Commander and Legacy players. But Standard,
For people who don't know, Grim Tutor was a card that had not been printed in a normal set. I believe it was just like an intro starter set. Grim Tutor is black, and 1 sorcery. Search your library for a you lose 3 life. Search your library for a card, put it in your hand.
Yeah, it's demonic tutor with the downside and 1 extra mana, which is still good.
Yeah.
No, and I was wondering.
It's played as a 1 of, I think, in a lot of Storm lists. That's about it.
So like 2 mana demonic tutor would be way too good for Standard. 4 mana tutor demonic. The whispery one. What is that one?
The whispery one?
Oh, Diabolic Tutor.
Diabolic Tutor.
Yeah, he's thinking of the Liliana Whispering and Shock's ear art.
Okay, that makes sense.
And the OG art that is aping, because it's always been like an ear whispery art. I like that art a lot, and I really like the Shadra Liliana one a lot. So that card is just like stone cold not been playable in Standard. And then for a while we were running the 5 mana search your library, but you could also search your sideboard. So that's
awesome. And then we have the XX one that was search for a
Diabolic Revelations. And that card was sweet. I did play that one in Constructed. That was our 5th Revelation when Sphinx's Revelation was playable. You play that Sphinx's Revelations Elixir of Immortality and just go ham. Just go.
There's like a 3 mana Hellbound one from Dissension.
Infernal Tutor.
Yes.
Dave, I really want to make a quick note. I saw a alignment chart for control finishers, and Chaotic Evil was Elixir of Immortality. So I want you to
They
know
are
that.
free to concede at any time.
You're a monster.
Let me see your sideboard.
I did elicit a concession once, back before they changed that rule, in a very bad black-red deck where I was trying to play Soren's Vengeance and copy it with the Chandra that copied spells. I managed to alt Soren on somebody, and after I was looking at way to destroy their setup, I said, "Let me look at your sideboard," and that was the straw that broke the camel's back, and he conceded.
They're free to concede. That's somewhat reminiscent of the old LSV story about Storm Count is 8, Burning Wish makes 9, Tendrils would be 10. Not saying I'm going to get Tendrils, but I'll link it in the post show. But
Okay, did he not have it, and he got a concession where he didn't where they didn't make it show?
He top 8'd that tournament, and he did not have a win condition in the stack.
He wasn't running it.
At no point did he explicitly cheat. However, he did say Storm Counts at 9 with Burning Wish. Tendrils would make it 10, and everyone went, "Yeah, it would, wouldn't it? All right, we're done here."
Did he do that on purpose, or did he forget to put it in the sideboard?
He forgot. Like, for the record, normally whenever you do something like that, you just fuck up by accident. Like, I've done similar things in tournaments. Like, there was one where thankfully I didn't top 8, or people would realize how dumb I am, or top 16 because they would have printed the list. But I assembled the legacy list by memory, and it was 62 cards. And I initially went, "Oh shit!" And I went to a judge, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm pretty sure I have a deck registration error." And they went, "Nah, it's probably fine." Got deck checked, and it turns out, nope, I registered 62 cards, and I can't fucking count, which is awesome.
A 62 card deck is legal.
I got a feature match against one of my buddies, which was kind of cool. He got me on tilt by quoting Emily Dickinson. I thought it was a T.S. Eliot quote, but that's a whole different part of that tournament.
That is a weirdly specific thing to tilt over.
I'll tell that in the post show. So anyone that might be interested, give us a quarter a week. Geez, it's not much. Anyway. So yeah, the reprints. We also have Massacre Worm. I think I said that one. We have Baneslayer Angel. We have phasing back. New to Fairy and when I say phasing, I mean phases out. We can phase permanents out.
Right. We don't have phasing, we have phase.
There is a card in a Planeswalker deck with the word phases out. That is the world we live. That is what 2020
is. Planeswalker card? I thought that was from the actual factual set.
No, I know. Both of them, the Planeswalker and the actual factual one, both phase stuff out.
But the Planeswalker deck one makes it phase out and come back at a different time, which is going to be confusing as hell.
What a time
is
to
the
be alive.
easiest way, I think, to create a facsimile of time travel in this game. With maybe the exception of Karn, but I guess that's going back in time instead of going forwards.
Right, I agree.
So.
Oh, and so cats and dogs living together under one roof.
Yeah, I just want to say Isamaru has been dethroned. A selfless savior is now Batago.
No longer the goodest boy. I'm sorry.
Rin and Stiri, we have a dog cat, and wizards are cowards for not printing a cat dog. They are cowards. I wanted creature type cat dog so bad. I watched that terrible show.
It's not too late.
I will say, Rin and Ciri flows better than Ciri and Rin.
Okay, then just switch that. Which animal is named Win?
I disagree.
Come on, it doesn't matter.
Ciri and Rin sounds like a sketch show.
Yeah.
Just
make the cat named Rin then. Like, seriously.
Rin's a dog name, and Ciri's a cat name.
We were robbed of Magic's first cat dog, and I am angry about this.
Well, actually, Magic's first cat dog was this world.
Shut up! Shut up! Okay.
Because cat comes before dog alphabetically.
Has everyone gotten a chance to look at the Planeswalker showcase vertical cycles and the lands?
Yeah, they're cool.
I know you're the artwork nerd, JC, so I have to ask, what do you think of the new showcase frame?
I love it. I actually really love it. I feel like they got a lot of feedback that was positive about the Pokemon lands and generally how they look like Stormy and stuff like that. And they wanted to carry over that feeling into some of the showcasing, and I like it. The cool thing they did, so the Chandra Spellbook cards have this really cool flame border, and it looks like they just took that exact same edge that they used on that and are just putting it on the Chandra Vertical Cycle and the Mountain, which look freaking sweet.
Oh.
Agree.
It's the art is like, this is rare. Like, this core set seems awesome. I've already talked about how excited I am for Jumpstart.
Incinerator is ridiculous.
Chandra's Incinerator seems like super duper modern playable, right? Like, Dave, I'm bad at Magic, but that's a card that you could.
I think I missed that one. I don't know. I saw the red mana symbols and my brain shut off.
It's okay. So Chandra's Incinerator. Look at that card for the viewer at home. It is a Lily. Do you have it up? I'm going to try to do it from
all right. Got him. Okay.
You want to read it for us, Dave?
Yeah. The spell it is Chandra's Incinerator, 5 colorless and 5 generic and 1 red. Creature elemental. The spell costs X less to cast, where X is the total amount of non-combat damage dealt to your opponent this turn. That's trample. Whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, Chandra's Incinerator deals that much damage to target creature or planeswalker that player controls, and it is a 6/6. So it is possible that you can cheat out a very, very big creature very early on in Modern, and this might be better for Legacy, honestly. I don't like playing fair in Legacy. So.
But it's like Rift Bolt. I don't think it's in the Modern current burn list, but we have run Rift Bolt before. Turn 1 Rift Bolt, turn 2 Rift Bolt, and then other 1 mana Bolt, and a 6/6 seems really good. It doesn't feel like Christmas Land to me.
Yeah, I think it's pretty reasonable to expect to be able to consistently play that on turn 2 in Modern. That seems fine.
Well, and it doubles up your burn spells. It turns lava. What's the Kamigawa one? Lava what?
Lava Spike.
Lava Spike.
That makes it Searing Blaze. Sorry.
Yeah, it turns all your burn spells that target your opponents into ones that also target creatures. That's real good. That's not completely irrelevant, not hitting, being able to hit planeswalkers too, because that's the old thing with mono red. When do you ignore the planeswalker and when don't you? If it's free, sure, go for it. Hell yeah. Well, and the damage creatures on burn spells plays nice with the trample in a way that I think a lot of people aren't going to appreciate until they take more damage than they thought they would.
And in multiplayer Commander with OG Perforos, play 1 creature and then play this from 1 red, and then the trigger off this creature, you get to shoot 3 creatures for 2. That seems good.
And remember to talk mad shit on your opponent.
Hella shit. Maximum shit.
I also want to point out, I like a little better than the red showcase border is the black mana showcase border. I just think it is gorgeous.
The purple one?
I love the Liliana. I think that Liliana
sad Liliana matching the art from her flip Liliana is awesome. I'm a huge
fan, I will say.
I was on that train hard. Yeah,
it looks like we don't get Vivian as our green planeswalker for this core set. We have Garrett's back. So
we have my precious baby boy back. I love Garruk so much, and his walker is sweet. I like his card a lot.
It is kind of cool seeing Garrick's green planeswalker again. He's not Veil Cursed.
And Dinosaur Stampede.
And new Garruk's -2. I really like that technology where sometimes it's less of a loyalty loss. Like, that's really cool. That's a really kind of it's a small tweak that I think goes a long way, and it opens up some kind of interesting. I like it when they play with loyalty abilities like that. So I like that a lot. I'm really, really happy. I'm happy with all of the walkers we've seen. Boss Ket looks awesome. I love that we have an Amonkhet planeswalker. I like his
handsome.
He's very handsome, and he seems super playable.
Yeah. I was actually going to say it based. I don't know where he's from, but based on his armor, it looks kind of Amonkhet. Like, okay, yeah, that tracks.
He is a paladin of Oketra, and apparently, so I read the flavor. So he planeswalked away after he did his trial. He was so excited he planeswalked away, and he's like, yeah, and then he came back, and after what Bolas did, and was like, oh no! So he had this huge crisis of faith, but then he realized it doesn't matter whether or not Oketra's still here. What she said was the right thing. So now he goes around and spreads her word. No, I really like Boss Ket.
Boy.
He's really cool. It's a neat card. I'm very excited for that card. It's fucking awesome.
That's Cat's character in our Planeswalker game.
Sorry, guys. I need to step away very, very briefly. I'll be right back. Sorry.
No problem. There's another exciting thing. We got mill keyworded.
Yep.
Yeah,
sure.
I don't like that.
Oh,
I don't know if I like it either, but yeah.
Okay, hear me out. This is why I think this is a good thing. And I would have agreed with you both a few months ago until something that happened at TCG University Studios. I came in early and Tam was playing universes. I don't know who Tam was playing universes with somebody. And they said, okay, play this card, do this attack, do this weird weeb thing, whatever that game, universes, whatever, But then they're like, okay, mill you too. And I was like, do you guys know that's from a Magic card called Millstone, right? And they're like, no, they didn't. Like that terminology has literally seeped into other games, and like people don't even know where it's from, which is okay. Like that, I'm not saying like you need to know your history. It was from a card printed in Alpha. It's Millstone. Like no, I'm not saying that. It's just like. I agree with Wizards trying to be cautious on loading their game up with too much terminology, but I think we just hit a point where what does mill mean? Oh, it means you put cards from your graveyard into your library. Oh, okay. And like other people coming from other games are going to know what it means already. Like
that's true.
I think it's time. I'm very happy with that decision.
Oh God, I need to update my file.
Well, Lily, I can't really. Can you really expect me to look at your cards if you don't have anything?
I'll fucking kill you.
No, Brett. Can I just trust that you were not very much like? Did you all know that was from Magic the Gathering? And
I think I brought it up excitedly. I might have sounded like an old man yelling at a cloud. I will always acknowledge that.
So Idol of Endurance is like the coolest white card that's been printed in like 5 years.
Yeah. No. My girlfriend Kat, who we obviously talk about on the show every now and then, who's written an article on the Patreon, which is very good. Everyone should read it.
Kat.
Love you, Kat. I'm waving at her right now, but she can't hear me, and now she's noticing. Oh, don't worry, you'll catch up to you in a second. Anyway, Kat and many other players have been frustrated with the current power level of white in recent sets, and Kat has been very happy with a lot of white cards we've had previewed. Mangara, the Diplomat, is awesome. And Morrow's just straight up admitted that white needs some card advantage, finally. And the card you mentioned, I'm totally blanking on the name.
Idol of Endurance.
It is a really unique card.
Lord, yeah.
You have the text up, or do you want me to try to do from memory?
So it is a white artifact that costs 1 white and 2 colorless mana. When it enters the battlefield, exile all creature cards with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard until Idol of Endurance leaves the battlefield. So just like how Banisher Priest or Binding Light from Theros?
Blinding, yeah.
Whatever, the enchantment.
Banishing Light.
Banishing Light, there we go. So just like that card and Banisher Priest, exile until they leave the battlefield and then it comes back to the battlefield. This card puts them back in your graveyard when it leaves the battlefield. And then, so it takes all your creatures that cost 3 or less from your graveyard. And then you can pay 1 white and 1 and tap the artifact. And then until end of turn, you may cast a creature spell from among the cards exiled with it without paying its mana cost. So it's a you may. So if somebody like takes something by surprise, you don't have to if they do Containment Priest, which got reprinted, you don't have to worry about it being like exiled or anything like that. Actually, I don't think that, but anyway. But anyway, so you get to basically put the cards that you pulled away from your graveyard onto the battlefield 1 by 1.
And if they blow your thing up, they go back to the graveyard so you could try again. Because old versions of this card would have generally probably just exiled it under the card, and if you get blown up, you get your tough titties. So this is... They're using a lot of newer technology again. They're working on other ways to get white card advantage. I like their reoccurring smaller creatures theme for white that they've been doing.
It's really like coherent design.
It's a great card. It's a really exciting card. We have Swords to Angels, Path to Angel.
That's not what it's called. Hold on.
But I mean, it's exile target creature.
Angelic Ascension. So it's an instant for 1 white and 1. Exile target creature or planeswalker. Its controller creates a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying.
Okay, Dave, as the resident good player, or at the very least the resident better than us player, is that standard playable? Is that too good to give you?
Rapid hybridization saw some play, and this is arguably better than it.
I think planeswalkers.
Yeah, it can hit planeswalkers too. I think this is fine. Honestly, when I'm seeing this, I think what people are going to want to do with it, I think what you're going to want to do with this card is you're going to want to target your own shit with it. You're going to want to play a turn 1 creature, maybe Whispering Informant or whatever the hell the thing that makes a 1/1 lifelinker when it does, or like Garrison.
Exile.
It exiles it. Oh,
Yeah,
That's
this
still
isn't
fine.
like rapid hybridization and Young Wolf.
Okay, yeah, then that's still probably fine. Like, just play some stupid 1/1 that maybe comes into play effect. It doesn't need to either, and then exile it on turn 2. I have a 4/4 on turn 2. Go.
Right.
Like people played whatever this stupid white angel thing that you couldn't play on turns 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Drawing a blank. There's something.
And how on point is it to like have a creature sacrifice itself to bring down an angel when you're playing in white? Like seriously.
The other thing I think is super tech that I don't think is going to be that I don't think is appreciated. They go in with a bunch of guys at your planeswalker. There's no way it's going to live. You exile your walker and create a creature to kill one of theirs that they attacked in with.
Oh yeah.
So this is an instant too.
It's an instant.
It's
Yeah.
really
Jesus
versatile.
Christ,
It is
okay.
one of the more versatile white cards that they have printed. Like you can do at the end of their turn, if they don't play anything on turn 2 that's worth killing, you take out your 1-mana guy, make an angel, immediately untap and attack with it.
Or yeah, and then if they play something that is better than a 4/4 angel, you give them a 4/4 angel. And if they're going to go, go ahead.
No, yeah, it's that old thing with rapid hybridization. If your deck can't beat a 3/3, then why are you playing it? If your deck can't beat a 4/4, why play it?
Right.
And then they're going to kill your creature, so they've got their removal spell out
Lord,
there.
that's
Okay,
such a
I've got a
good-
4/4. Yeah, I'm a big fan. They're really pushing white. I'm really happy with this.
Good. Like I think it's commander playable.
Oh, definitely.
A
I
4/4
think
is nothing.
Commander is going to be that format where it should be way easier to be able to deal with the 4/4 token. Certainly.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. And it might not be coming at you necessarily.
Yeah.
It's good. Some good
It'll be
politics
coming
stuff.
at me because there's very little justification needed to kill me, apparently.
In
Your
those group
decks
games.
are strong.
Everyone we play with decks are strong.
I stand by my decision in the last 2 games we played. I had a plan to kill everyone else in the room.
Okay.
Anyway, JC, any other cards you want to mention in particular?
Yeah, Truffle Stout.
Yes.
Truffle Snout. You're making that one up. I don't believe
What
it.
is
Look it up.
What an
I don't
adorable
believe
damn card. Let me read Truffle Stout for you. It's 2 and green. When Truffle Snout enters the battlefield, choose 1, put 1/1 counter on Truffle Snout, or you gain 4 life. It's a 2/2 that costs 3 that gains you 4 life with adorable art.
Or the
So,
3/3.
where do the mushrooms come in?
He's so happy.
Do they tie that in too?
Read the flavor text. Read the flavor text.
Its exploits are the stuff of legends among local chefs and fuel for nightmare among the forest thalids.
I think the idea is like it eats the mushrooms and you can either like use them to like heal and buff, or the pig eats it itself and gets stronger. Like, I don't know. I like this card a lot.
I like
He's
this card a
so
lot.
happy.
Cool.
Yeah, the pig is so happy. The pig is like sniffing this mushroom. It has like a little pack on its back where it carries them. Like it brings me
its eyes
joy.
are closed and it looks like it's smiling. Just
happy.
one of those. Oh yeah, that's
Oh my
there.
God.
There was
Also-
one that I.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Right. The quick story from the stream the other night, right? So somebody was talking on stream about how they're reprinting Ugin. And apparently, like, card evaluation might still be kind of weird with some of these older cards because somebody said, 8 mana, that's a lot. This isn't going to see any play. Is this even good?
The answer is yes, because we're also getting Simulacrum, Cultivate,
Simulacrum.
Simulacrum. Yes.
You can call him Solemn. The sad robot, if and you
Also-
will.
I mean, maybe people will start fucking saying that card right. Solemn
That'll never happen.
Simulacrum.
Never happened. The
Simulacrum?
borderless Cultivate looks awesome.
Agreed.
Yes, I love the fact that card's getting reprinted. I love all the artworks for it, even the old school one with the hand, and I think there was a new one. It looked like some lady cultivating things.
Yeah, I think that's the borderless art. And that art is going to be in the common slot and packs, so that should be available.
I like it. I also like, speaking of good art reprints, Fabled Passage.
Yeah, Fabled
yes.
Passage.
So that
Hey,
sounds like
that's
Watsky has
good.
decided this is going to be our fetch land for Pioneer.
Which
Yeah.
cool.
No, and I love that that they are willing to be reprinting cards that are really constructed playable. It's in Theros. People need it. Let's run the price down. Let's make that card available. I'm a huge fan of
And
that.
Eldraine, but you know.
Eldraine, sorry, not Theros. You're right. Oh boy, Magic.
Also, Thieves Guild Enforcer is cool. I like the art. I like the card. It's a flash 1/1.
Yeah.
Rare rogue. It's cool.
Like pseudo rogue, like so that's not pseudo. Small rogue tribal. That card seems actually playable. Can we take a second to talk about the fact that they were printing a 1/1 black lifelink for 1 that if it enters the battlefield or is cast from the graveyard, you exile it and make a 5/5 flying demon. Can we bring up the fact that they printed this card before they knew they were changing how Luris worked?
Yeah.
What the hell, play design? What were you thinking?
It seems fine. I don't even know if I want to play that in Loris, quite frankly.
We have the nut button. Can we get a what the? So I'm sorry, I cut you off.
There's the goodest boy, the dog, the sacrifice dog that comes back. That sacrifice
goodest boy.
Literally every turn in the one way that the enchantment creature from Theros can't.
Can really side note, just so this doesn't seem like a weird thing I held up. Can we get a what the hell play design button made? Because I would be hitting that all of the time.
Should we not? Let's not have a soundboard, please.
I think we should have a
one
shock.
of the things I want to put on that soundboard.
I've consistently maintained that we are a morning show. A soundboard is
we are
right.
Not a Zoom crew.
I want a shock jock morning show soundboard with a bunch of fart noises. Yes.
Not fucking Todd and Tyler.
Brett K with the fart crew.
Yeah, no, that's serious.
I don't know if I
the fart crew.
Across, but
So I just have 2 more notes I want to point out about this set. One, Leafkin Avenger has weird art and is a weird card. I just pointing that out. It
continued art from the last.
Gonna play it.
But that's the Leaf King ramp guy from the last set who's now on fire and pissed off.
It's true, he is on fire. Also, I like the number of kind of weird counterspelly things they've either reprinted or made in this set. I think it's cool.
Instant and sorcery dispel, yeah, like that card got previewed today. That's. I mean, yeah, like that's.
I think Spell Pierce is usually better, but we don't have Spell Pierce in Standard.
I always hate when that card's legal in Standard. It always feels like people are playing it when they shouldn't be, and the other part is I refuse to play around it. I will never play around that card ever. Fucking period.
It's super.
Every fucking day of the week with others.
It's super good with stuff like, at least in Brawl, I don't know how important that is, but stuff like, oh god, the double X, blue, what's it called?
Yeah, mass manipulation.
Mass manipulation and Playwood Celebration.
Yeah, that feels
really good against either of those, and those are both very strong cards.
That is true. Like making even if they have to, like, better players than me would have to play around that. Well, I'm never playing around it. If you have it, you have it. You know.
That's my philosophy pretty much always anyway. So
that's probably why I'm not a better player, for the record, because I'm just never fucking played around Spell Pierce, wasting my time. Out of here with that. I'm just gonna get salty for 5 seconds and then move on with my life.
No, that's fair. I see, Dave. You don't have to admit what you say is like make them have it. So you instead it's like we're gonna make them have it, and you're gonna say it confidently. Then it comes off as like, well, we have to make sure they have it, and then we still get blown out. We probably should have played around it. But if you say we're gonna make them have it first, then you can at least pretend that you're being a good player.
Yeah. And then you have the optics of making the right play, which I don't. I'm fucking not going to. Yeah.
Okay, any final core set thoughts before we want to wrap this topic up and move on to our commercial break?
Just one. Viewers, do yourselves a favor. I want you to look up... Shit, I just had it pulled up. God damn it. This is terrible. Peer into the Abyss. I want you to look up that sweet, sweet artwork for Peer into the Abyss. And as it turns out, we're still doing some bitchin' artwork in this game.
Is that Face Eyes?
We don't get Ron Spencer, but...
Is that old Face Eyes?
That's they're just like faces everywhere, and those faces also have faces, and it's just pure nightmare fuel, and I love it.
And you draw half your deck.
Yeah, draw half your deck and lose a shitload of life.
See, I've been on the brink of making Jund Borborigmo's commander deck where I've been really teetering on the doing lands Jund and just trying to get Borborigmos out and hurling half my deck across the room. Okay. This might be the card that pushes me to it.
7 mana and 15 life is a sweet deal for probably 50 cards in Commander.
And then I can literally just take up half my deck and wing it at my roommate Dan and just go, you die! So I'm looking forward to that.
Like, the problem is this doesn't get to be a control finisher, but you know what? I'm sure there's a way I can finish the game after playing that. I don't know how yet, but we'll figure it out.
You might finish by losing. I mean, in a way, it finishes the game.
Like maybe there's some sort of like...
Dave. Conrad the Grim discarding to hand size.
We did it. We solved the puzzle.
Let's do it.
It's only like a turn later than him. Like it's almost turn 5, turn 6, but not quite.
If we ramp, we could do it like that. I'm just saying, right. Conrad discard to hand size. I think this is the way we live our lives.
I told you, don't run friggin' Reliquary Tower.
I disagree with Mitch about Reliquary Tower, but that's a different topic. That was a final thought. Any additional final thoughts?
Rin and Siri are adorable. We talked about it at the beginning. I'm done.
That's fair. I love the card.
Dogs living together under one roof.
We get old face eyes, face eyes, one of the two, and dogs and cats. They're great,
right?
And dog armor, which while ridiculous is adorable, so I'll allow it.
It's cold comfort.
Okay, all right. We are going to. So when we come back, we're going to be calming down a little bit, dealing with some serious stuff. So we're going to take a commercial break. We're going to be back after that, and we're going to talk about some of the big the new content bans that have just happened very recently. So we're going to kick this over to a word to our sponsors, and then we will finish back up with that topic.
This week's sponsor is Nuclear Ink Custom Tattoo and Skate Shop. At Nuclear Ink, you will find a very inclusive environment with artists that share your interest in nerd culture and fandoms alike. Nuclear Ink prides themselves in being Omaha's premier all-custom tattoo shop. So if you're looking to get a custom tattoo, please check out Nuclear Ink here in Omaha, Nebraska. A link will be in the description down below. We're also sponsored by InkedGaming.com. Are you looking to get a custom playmat? Well, then we suggest you check out InkedGaming.com. They have custom playmats, dice bags, mouse pads, and so much more. They even recently added a stitch option to their playmat and mouse pads as well. Stop those frayed edges from happening. Inked Gaming lets you play your game with your style. And if you want to get 10% off of your entire order, use the code TCG University, all caps, no spaces at checkout, and help support us by customizing your game to your style. Cards Custom Builds. Are you into cosplay? Looking to get into cosplay? Do you want to show up to events dressed as your favorite character? Well, then Cards Custom Build can help. Cards Custom Build creates everything from cosplay accessories like props, trinkets, or weaponry, all the way up to full-blown costumes. Do you want to make a perfectly flowing cloth, or maybe want rigid battle armor? Cards Custom Build has you covered. The work is guaranteed to make you the talk of the con. So go over to Cards Custom Build on either Facebook or on their Etsy account. Links will be in the description down below. And make sure you mention TCG University to get 5% off your entire order. And lastly, the show is brought to you by Dex Protection. Dex Protection is on a never-ending pursuit to create the highest quality storage and protection accessories. Their design and innovation comes from die-hard gamers and collectors just like you. So they know what you want in the products that you buy. They're constantly taking in feedback from their customers, and they have no plans to stop their innovations or their drive to refine the products until they're recognized as a leader in their industry. They make terrific products, all with the avid gamer and collector in mind. So go ahead and check them out. The link will be in the description down below.
Welcome back, everybody. Like I mentioned before the ad break, we are going to take a little bit of time here to address a serious issue that has cropped up very recently. So we are going to address the 7 cards that Wizards of the Coast banned. I believe the announcement, it was yesterday, June 10th. Does someone want to kind of give an explanation on that?
I got it.
Dave, why don't you take it away?
All right. So far, there have been 7 cards that have been banned due to their content. The official stance made by WotC is that racism has no place in this game, and they are going to be making some bans and some changes as far as specifically older cards. The list is available on WotC's homepage. You can do a quick search. I'm sure if you're interested in Magic and you're on social media, I'm sure you've seen this shared about 20 times already. The TLDR of it is that we had one card in particular that is the poster child. Now, this isn't the only problematic card that exists, but this was the spark that moved things into motion. It's a card called Invoke Prejudice. I'm not going to describe the artwork. If you'd like, you can do a Google search for it. That was the card that I believe kind of set this in motion. This is definitely the poster child of things that are not okay. This at no point, I think, and I think everyone will agree with me here, and I'm sure chat will too. At no point was this card acceptable, and there are a few others as well that should not have been printed. For various reasons, be it the card text, the artwork, things along those lines.
A combination of those things.
Absolutely. And WotC has also told us that these are not going to be the only 7, and they are reviewing the entirety of what exists within Magic, and likely we will have further announcements as well of cards that should not have been printed.
So these guys, and these were specifically, they were removed from Gatherer. The images are no longer available on Gatherer, and these cards have been banned in all sanctioned tournament play. And the Commander Rules Committee has also stepped up and said they're also going to be banned in Commander. And that was the correct decision. And earlier in the show, I have a lot of things to say about the Rules Committee. I super stand with them on this. That was the correct decision they made.
To be clear, the 7 cards are Invoke Prejudice.
Let's not read all of them. A couple of them have a few things we don't want to say.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. So again,
there are at least 2 that are slurs.
So we're gonna. These are on Wizards' official site. We're going to. I think there's a very relevant. We're gonna get onto a relevant Reddit article, so we're gonna post a few links down below if people want to go looking for those. Yeah. But yeah,
a number of other sources to Polygon. You can get them.
And so something that when we were discussing whether or not we wanted whether we wanted to and how we wanted to discuss this issue, something Dave brought up is that there likely might be people attempting to profiteer off of this.
That was kind of the soapbox that I'm sorry. I'll stop talking real quick.
No. I was just going to say, so we were worried. We wanted to bring that subject up, and already after this announcement, it's only been about 24 hours, and there are, I believe, TCG Card Kingdom, and I think TCG Player have already taken these cards down. They're delisted. They're not available for sale anymore.
And I'm sure they won't be the only ones as well. I think we're going to start seeing more and more of this. Like most of the cards, at least the rares, are all going to be on the reserve list, exception of I think ones that have seen multiple reprintings, but that's beside the point. But a lot of these were already expensive cards because of when they were printed back in the Dark and Arabian Nights and Legends, and there had already been the reserve list boom, essentially. Now, what the concern at this point is, and what I would very much like for anyone watching, anyone listening, anyone hearing about this, spread it around. Don't buy these cards. Don't sell these cards either. Keep them in a binder. Forget about them. Do not try and profit, and do not allow others to profit off of this either. These cards should never have been printed. We cannot completely eradicate them from the history. But what we can do is we can make sure that there aren't people that are going to try and make a quick buck off of the fact that this has happened. Because I guarantee there will be people that have tried to do it, and I'm sure there are those already. I don't want to look on eBay to see what people are selling Invoke Prejudice for. And in all honesty, I don't need those people in my life either. I'm not going to buy that card. I would not sell that card. And if your local store has that in the case, you talk to whoever's there and you tell them, hey, you need to get that shit out of here. That's not okay.
I am fully okay that if you own a copy of any of these cards, go ahead and just toss them in a fire or something. I'm fully supportive of that.
You can destroy them. You can put them in the closet and forget about them. In all honesty, I'd be a bigger fan of somebody putting it into a binder. You get to talk to a new player, 5-6 years down the road, like, well, what's this card? I've never seen that before. Oh, here's the history thing. There was a point in the game where this shit was acceptable. It's not acceptable anymore. They've acknowledged it and they've stopped it. So we need to make sure that we never slide back on that either.
Yeah.
I have so on that note, Dave, I really like what you're saying. So I don't think destroying these is probably the responsible thing to do.
Unless here's the thing, and if it's, I think, if it's your thing and you say I don't want this property, I want to get rid of it.
That's exactly exactly what I'm saying is I don't think we should forget that these cards are printed. I don't think we should not talk about this. I'm saying that if you these cards are somewhere in your collection and you feel uncomfortable with it, I am fully supportive of you getting rid of them in some way.
Right. So what I was saying though, okay, whatever, fair enough. But I like so there's 2 elements to this, right? So what do we do about these cards? Why do we ban, do we ban them? We take them out of the live game because Magic is a living game. Magic is a game where there are currently games that are played with cards that are from every set that's ever been printed. Magic is a game that exists now. But, so you have to make decisions with that in mind. But at the same time, not that these were okay when they were printed. They weren't. but at the same time, like these cards, to ignore that there was a point in time where this was okay is ahistorical. And I think, yeah, like Dave was saying, like I think that's an important thing to be like, yeah, hey, this used to be a thing. We don't do that anymore.
I'm mostly ripping off Whoopi Goldberg's statement in front of a lot of Warner Brothers cartoons. I don't think it's been put better since she said it.
Oh, I love that.
I can't take credit for it. I just agree with her wholeheartedly.
It's so good. Yeah, I love that. I love because that was the Warner Brothers stuff, right? When they released some anthologies.
Yeah, I think it was like old Looney Tunes and old cartoons that had racist depictions. And I think I'm happy that that they have taken these out of play. I'm glad that so if you're a person, you go to a Commander game, you go to a Commander game, you sit down with someone you don't know, you can know that no one's going to sit down with racist depictions in their deck. That card is banned. So you aren't going to have to go to a game. You're a new player. You aren't going to have to be exposed to that. Having the card somewhere saying, here are some of the old cards. These are totally gone. We don't do these anymore. Yeah, it's it's like, I'm not saying do they need to be eradicated from the earth, but keeping them for historical context, say, look at what happened. Let's be vigilant. Let's make sure stuff like this doesn't happen again. I think is a thing. Also, my opinion is not the most important on this also. So I'm always happy to be told that I'm wrong or off on one of these things too. So, and we go ahead.
On the note of like, you can sit down on a tournament, you can sure it's not going to show. So while the rules on card alters do mention offensive images, like in the abstract, it doesn't appear that there is like any specific guidelines.
No, but at the same time, any alters have to be approved by a judge, and I would hope that any certified Magic judge would, if anyone came with altered cards that were offensive, derogatory, racist, harmful, that feels like a absolutely not, and possibly, I don't know if that's a point where you can say unsportsmanlike conduct already, but if I was running an event and somebody showed up with some racist card alter, they would be told to leave.
I think you get to show them the door at that point.
Yeah, they would be told to leave.
Tell them to get the fuck out. I mean, as far as quick aside, as far as alters have been concerned, that's always been at the discretion of the head judge.
Yeah,
you kind of get into the whole Supreme Court thing as far as I mean, this is I guess the my words are getting away from me. I'm sorry, everybody. We're trying to quit sugar and caffeine. It's not working out well for me.
But you going with the general, I'll know when I see it sort of idea.
Yes, exactly what the Supreme Court said with that. I don't really want to draw the parallels between those, but it is kind of that. From someone's perspective, someone might go, well, I don't see a problem with this, where the overwhelming majority of humanity is going to go, how do you not see a problem with this? How do you think this is okay? And that's kind of what you get into there.
So this is on a similar topic. So this is coming up because there have been, I mean, obviously what is going, if you are watching this in the future, we are in a particularly,
we are currently living through factors leading to, that is where we are at in the history books currently.
No, things are, I'm trying to find, I struggle to find the correct words to summarize it, to not, we're at a pivotal moment in time, and a lot of things are starting to be discussed, things that ought to have been discussed previously to this, but we have had multiple catalysts leading towards a lot of discussions about race and racism and things like that. And I want to bring this up, and we talked about how we wanted to go about this before we started recording the show, and there is a particularly interesting and important article that was posted on Reddit that is currently at this time stickied on the Magic subreddit. And I believe, I want to make sure I'm quoting this correctly, so I'm just going to pull this up. My apologies, I had it up. It's Black Designers Matter. We're going to link this in the video below. And this is an article where someone calls out WotC. They call out Invoke Prejudice in particular. I believe in this article, I might be mistaking for another article. I will do my best to make sure we have the correct stuff linked below after this. But WotC is particularly called out for their hiring practices. WotC is a particularly white company. And some people are saying that this ban announcement might feel like a pandering corporate move. And this is how I think I speak for the group, and if not, please correct me, where this feels like a good first step.
Yeah.
But I think but WotC, there needs to be more steps, and we as a community need to continue to call for this. We need more. We need things like invoke prejudice should never have happened, but things like the fact that there hasn't. I don't know if there's ever been a person of color. I don't think there's been a black person of color on a design team. Things need to change. WotC has been, and in this article, WotC has been quoted as, "Oh, we know there's a problem. We're working on it. It's been years, and change needs to happen faster." And we acknowledge that we are not the most racially diverse group of people here on this podcast, but I think it's important for that we decided our small platform should join the voices of our community, other platforms, be they large or small, and other individual players, and calling for further action from WotC.
Yeah, this is certainly a good first step, but I think we need to keep walking. We need to keep going. This is the first part. Yeah. And I want to make sure this happened last night. I want to make sure I'm getting this information correct again. We here at MTG Study Hall reached out to WotC's PR department for an interview regarding this subject. I believe I'm correct in that. Just an interview about this and other things, certainly. But this is certainly at the top of the list. We got an auto response email. They said, I don't know. I certainly don't think WotC's actually going to probably give us an interview. Although if they'd like to, I'd be shocked, and that would be incredible. Honestly, what we received was an auto reply, if I remember right. Yep. We haven't received an actual response from a human being. Now, sorry.
Oh, I said we'll see.
Yeah. I had expected a prepared statement from either their legal or from their media department, something that there's kind of a boilerplate type thing. Like, yeah, if anyone asks about this, you just said this is our prepared statement. This is what you send them. I would be impressed if we got that. I would be more impressed if we had an actual human being respond. Yeah. So. And I don't think this isn't even necessarily the best platform for them to respond. I hope Wizards continues to respond to this, and I'd like to see them respond to other content creators. And I think it's important for us to ask other content creators, like, we have a platform. This is a very simple thing we can do, is show solidarity when good decisions are made and call for further good action. I think that's like a bare minimum thing that we can do. Yeah. Does anyone have anything else we want to talk about? I don't want to make this my statement. I want to make sure we've got everything we want to talk about brought up on this topic before we wrap things up.
Kind of on this subject, I mean, one of the ways that you, like, if you as a white person, and right here, I am too, we're all like on this podcast, right? If you're not sure, if you see this stuff and you're like, I don't really get how this is, offensive. Okay, sure. Fair enough. I get maybe not personally understanding it, but there are resources out there. There are people out there doing educating that you don't have to impose yourself on. The resources are out there to educate yourself on this stuff. And there's no real excuse at this point for not having some context for all of what's going on. I mean, it's your responsibility as a person who exists in the world to educate yourself on these things if you just don't understand.
And I think it's just baseline emotional maturity to acknowledge that even if these cards didn't seem problematic or offensive to you, to having the empathy and the character to acknowledge that just because it's not hurting you, it doesn't mean it can't hurt someone else. And that it's, instead of questioning and nitpicking and trying to dig into, but is this the problem? Is this the problem? I think that's a partially natural instinct to start to question. But there are also times where you need to say, this isn't affecting me. I need to stand in solidarity. And I think
that defer to the people that know about this stuff.
Exactly. No, and that's why we had a conversation before we did this about what is appropriate and what is right for us to say, and that we want to be supportive and not make this about us, but make this about supporting good changes that will help impact the lives of others and the community for everybody involved in it.
What I would say, I check online, donate some bail funds, donate to mutual aid funds. If you have some time, if you're out there, get out there with a sign. Protesters aren't hard to find, and the more the merrier. With like there is safety in numbers. I know a lot of the stuff might actually kind of look pretty scary out there, but at the end of the day, I think most of us all want the same thing, and those that don't want to see an end to the absurd amount of police brutality that is shifted specifically on one group of American citizens. This is kind of getting away from me, but if you're okay with the police brutality that's going on, specifically if you're okay with the murder of people of color, you probably shouldn't watch this. You should probably just turn this off at this point. While you're at it, I don't think that you should play Magic. I don't think that you're necessarily welcome there if you think that one group of humans are better than the other. That's fucking ridiculous. But the point being, get out there with the sign. Even if you don't know if there are any sort of protests or anything like that, you'll find folks. Don't worry. There is safety in numbers. If there is anything as far as a silent majority, I think the silent majority are the folks that are disgusted with the monstrous actions that have been taken by a small group of us of taking human life. And they're starting to talk. They're starting to not be silent anymore. And again, these are some first steps. We need to keep going.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and I think even more so, speaking as like someone who's white and a content creator, is that a large problem why this hasn't been addressed before in general in our society is because white people don't talk about this. White people don't make each other feel uncomfortable about this. Don't engage in conversations about how this should not be tolerated, how this has gone on way too long, and we need to keep having that conversation, and it's important that we talk about it.
What we're saying is you have an ethical obligation to ruin your 4th of July family get-together.
And I want to... Games Workshop, the company that puts out Warhammer, Fantasy Warhammer 40K, wrote a excellent piece when all of this started happening about their game and inclusivity. And they basically, and they made a statement, and I think it's important to look at a corporate statement with some question about their motive, but their statement said there are those in the hobby who harbor these ideas or who think this is acceptable. There's the door. You're not welcome in this hobby. This hobby is not for you if you think these things. And I think that is not a statement you make to make money. That is a statement you make to make things clear to your community and the people adjacent to your community that some behavior is unacceptable. And I'm happy to see that happening. And WotC, this is a step. I want to see a lot more steps. I think we need to continue to call for that.
Agree.
Okay. Unless anyone wants to say anything else, I want to make sure we're all good on this. I think it's time to wrap up here.
I wouldn't say good's the word I'd use, but here we are.
I think we're ready to wrap up then. So everyone, thank you for tuning in. I know that this final topic here was a bit of a shift from everything, but we felt it necessary to talk about, and we tried to cover the areas we felt were appropriate for us to talk about. If you have things you'd like to say, if you want to reach out in the comments, if you want to reach out to any of us on Discord, please do. We've already covered our ads. We don't need to talk about any of that more. We're going to wrap things up. Thank you for tuning in. Things are crazy right now. Support each other, love each other, take care of each other, and remember who you are. Thank you.